How's it going, guys? This is Jack here with the Commander's Wire, and welcome back to another video. As we all know, the offseason is right around the corner, and on top of free agency, we have the draft coming up in April. So today, we're going to start out with my mock draft 1.0. I'm going to try and have maybe one mock draft per week, every week until the official NFL draft starts, mixing in different players, maybe trades, stuff like that, just to have an outlook of what the Commanders could be looking at when it comes to the draft season. So to start out, we're going to keep it really simple. I'm not going to do any trades in this mock draft currently, but in the future I will work in some trades, whether it be early rounds, later rounds, and maybe even potentially trading different players that are currently rostered with the Washington Commanders for future draft picks. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, please go down below, drop a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications to know when I post next. It just lets me know that you guys are enjoying this type of content and you guys want me to post more videos just like this, news, rumors, and other things regarding the Washington Commanders. So I really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's get right into the mock draft. So for the Commanders' first pick, we are sitting at pick 7, and I don't think there's any guy I'd rather. Maybe there's a couple, but this guy is definitely at the top of the list, and that's going to be Ohio State free safety Caleb Downs. There's really not much to say about Caleb Downs. He's a generational talent on the defensive side of the ball. He arguably could come in and be this team's green dot if needed, if Bobby Wagner doesn't return to the Commanders, and he could be the leader of the defense day one. Obviously, he would need to adjust to the NFL and the level of play that the NFL brings, but he would come in and make a huge difference on the top end of our secondary, most likely at the free safety position. He is 6 foot, 205 pounds, so he could potentially be a strong safety. However, I think in the NFL, he would be much more productive and much more efficient at the free safety position. So for the 2025 season with the Buckeyes, he totaled 68 tackles, 45 of those tackles being by himself. He had 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, and he even tacked on a singular sack. So he definitely has shown the talent to become a strong safety in the NFL, and that does bring some versatility to the type of player that he is, and could play either free safety or strong safety if he does come to the Washington Commanders. So I really do enjoy that versatility that he brings to the game. But I think that even though he's shown flashes, Caleb Downs at the free safety position, upgrading from Quan Martin, who I think could still have a spot on this roster, moving back to the nickel where he used to play in college when he was at Illinois, but that's for a different video. So first pick at pick 7, we are choosing Caleb Downs, free safety out of Ohio State. Like I said before, we're not doing any trades this video, so our next pick is going to be in the 3rd round, which is going to be pick 71. And with this pick, I have the Washington Commanders selecting Joshua Josephs, defensive end out of the University of Tennessee. Joshua Josephs, that is a tongue twister, try to say that 5 times fast, is a 6'3", 240-pound edge rusher. Would make a much better outside linebacker / edge rusher rather than a hands on the ground defensive end in the 4-3 defense that Dan Quinn likes to run. This season, he had 33 total tackles, 17 of those being solo. He had 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. So obviously, Joshua Josephs can get after the quarterback. At the college level, he has shown that he's able to make tackles, whether it's off the edge, in the run game. However, when his game transfers to the NFL, I think he would be a much better pass rusher, coming in on later downs and getting after the quarterback. And I think in the 3rd round, there's not a lot of other players that I want besides Joshua Josephs in this spot. So after that, our next pick is going to be a 5th round pick at pick 145. And I have the Washington Commanders selecting Aiden Fisher, a linebacker out of the University of Indiana, the recent national championship winning Indiana Hoosiers. So he is a 6'1", 233-pound linebacker. He had a total of 95 tackles, 46 of those being solo. He had 4.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 2 interceptions. So this guy has been flying all over the field, playing in multiple positions, getting back at coverage, maybe even coming off the edge in later downs to get after the quarterback. I think that Aiden Fisher paired up with Jordan McGee, they have a lot of speed, they have a lot of versatility, and I think they'd be a very productive linebacker duo, assuming that we move off of Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu this offseason. So Aiden Fisher is going to be my 5th round pick at pick 145 for the Washington Commanders. Next, I have the Washington Commanders selecting Nick Barrett, defensive tackle out of the University of South Carolina. He is a 6'3", 322-pound defensive tackle. This season, he had 42 total tackles, with 27 of those being solo. He had 2 sacks, and he had 1 fumble recovery on the season. Obviously, he's not a showstopper. He's not going to be like Myles Garrett and breaking the sack record every season. But Nick Barrett, I think, could come in and instantly be a rotational defensive tackle at a 6'3", 322-pound frame. He definitely could be in the middle of the defensive line on early downs, plugging gaps on running plays, and being a huge help on the run defense. I think that even though he may not start right away, with the contract that Daron Payne has, it is questionable of Daron Payne's future with the Washington Commanders. So bringing in a guy like Nick Barrett to plug up the middle of the defensive line and have him maybe even sit for a year, rotate in, and develop under Daron Payne if he does play this season, if not traded, I think would be a very solid pickup in the later rounds. At pick 185, I have Nick Barrett, defensive tackle out of the University of South Carolina. The next pick I have the Washington Commanders picking is pick 207, and that is going to be Wesley Williams, defensive end out of Duke University. Wesley Williams is 6'3", 265-pound defensive end. He fits the mold of what Dan Quinn looks for in a early down defensive end, hands in the dirt, setting the edge, and stopping the run. I think he could come in and instantly start for us. Obviously, we have Dorrance Armstrong under contract, but Deatrich Wise is coming back from major injury, and he's not even going to be under contract this upcoming season, so he's definitely questionable. Javonte Jean-Baptiste is also, he's going to be under contract. However, he's coming back from major injury, so he's also questionable. So I think in the later rounds, we definitely could find a run-stopping defensive end that can set the edge very well and be a huge help in the run game. So for the 2025 season with the Blue Devils, Wesley Williams had 43 total tackles, with 21 of those tackles being solo, and as well, he had 2 sacks and 1 fumble recovery. So Wesley Williams, like Nick Barrett out of South Carolina, he's not going to be stuffing the scorecard with ton of sacks. He only had 2 sacks this season, which is fine. He fits the frame of what Dan Quinn needs in a defensive end. He's coming in on early downs, setting the edge, stopping the run, and being a cornerstone on the wall that we want to set up on early downs. So I think in the later rounds, like Nick Barrett, Wesley Williams is also a steal for us. He's playing a similar role of Javonte Jean-Baptiste, being a rotational defensive end on early downs that the Washington Commanders can use. So pick 207, I have the Washington Commanders selecting Wesley Williams, defensive end out of Duke University. Pick 223 in round 7, I have the Washington Commanders selecting Malachi Fields, a wide receiver out of Notre Dame. He's a 6'4", 223-pound wide receiver, 36 receptions, 630 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He averaged 17.5 yards per reception, which is 27th in all of college football, which I think is pretty solid. Obviously, at a 6'4" frame, he's going to be playing that Noah Brown type of role on the outside, going up for 50-50 balls, using his height to his advantage, and allowing Jayden Daniels to beat everyone over the top, having Malachi Fields use his body and his height to jump up for deep balls, maybe even in the red zone, allowing that different type of receiver to be in here in Washington. I think the tallest receiver that we have under contract right now is healthy, besides Noah Brown, who I believe is maybe around 6'2", is actually Terry McLaurin, who is 6 foot. So obviously we don't have a lot of height on our team. I think Malachi Fields brings a different aspect to the game that Jayden Daniels could use on the outside in the passing game. So pick 223, I have the Commanders selecting Malachi Fields, wide receiver out of Notre Dame. So that's going to be it for Mock Draft 1.0. Go down below, rate this mock draft 1 to 10. Let me know what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and let me know what you want to see in the future for my future mock drafts. I'm going to try and use as many different players as possible and try not to repeat players for different mock drafts so we can take a look at as many players as possible, like I stated before. And so I really appreciate you guys watching till the very end. Like I said earlier, go down below, drop a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications and when I post next to let me know that you guys want more content just like this, as well as dropping a comment while you're down there, letting me know how you liked or even disliked this mock draft and how you would change it. So I appreciate you guys watching till the very end. God bless and hail to the Commanders.